And this Supreme Court case is just the latest in a nearly 2-year-long legal battle since the Supreme Court's McGirt ruling on criminal cases.
The state of Oklahoma has filed dozens of appeals opposing the ruling. News on 6's Jonathan Cooper is live with how we got to this point. Jonathan?
Craig and Lori, today's arguments lasted a couple of hours, and no matter what happens, it could mean some big changes for eastern Oklahoma. Both state and tribal leadership are in the nation's capital today for a Supreme Court case that could change the way some crimes are prosecuted in Green Country. Today, the High Court listened to oral arguments for Oklahoma versus Castro Huerta, a follow-up to the 2020 landmark case McGirt versus Oklahoma. Today's arguments come nearly 2 years after that case was decided, which ruled Indian reservations in the eastern part of Oklahoma were never disestablished at statehood, meaning cases involving Native defendants or victims cannot be prosecuted by the state on tribal land. Following the ruling, Governor Kevin Stitt expressed concerns about some cases being thrown out and going unprosecuted. He talked to me about it last year.
Basically, they just ripped away the sovereignty of the state of Oklahoma.
The tribes saw it differently.
It is the most important case in Indian law in generations.
In the months that followed, the state filed several appeals looking to overturn McGirt or get more clarity, saying the ruling has produced chaos in the courts. The Supreme Court denied most of those appeals. But one of the exceptions was the case argued today in Oklahoma versus Castro Huerta. Victor Castro Huerta, who is not Native, was convicted of neglecting his 5-year-old Native stepdaughter so severely she weighed just 19 pounds. But that state case was thrown out. Now, this Supreme Court case is simply asking one question: whether any state has the authority to prosecute non-natives who commit crimes against Native Americans on tribal land. If the justices side with Oklahoma, it would narrow the scope of the 2020 ruling. A final decision will come this summer. Alex Cameron with our News on 6 Washington Bureau was at the Supreme Court today. He's going to have much more details about this specific case on News on 6 at 6 o'clock. Reporting live in Tulsa, Jonathan Cooper, Oklahoma's own News on 6.